Morning coffee talk. I just got out of bed, so um all right. So, a girlfriend of mine recently reached out on Facebook and told me that when she heard my story, it helped reaffirm to her that she was a strong individual and could get through some really traumatic things. Um, she said that watching my video helped her. So I thought I would kind of share my story again for those who don't know it or haven't seen my video before. Um, I've also noticed some of my other friends on Facebook kind of struggling. You know, we're getting into fall. It's starting to be darker now. Um, Soon we'll be into winter, which can be like such an incredibly hard time for people because it's dark and it's cold and it can be really isolating. And this whole year has just been, whew, it's been a toughie for everyone. We've all had to learn how to deal with ambiguity and just so many unknowns and a lot of isolation and just the state of our country and all the political debating and just all of that going on. A lot of people are feeling kind of broken and divided, and so I thought, okay, now is a good time to kind of revisit my story. So when I was a kid, I suffered some traumas along the way. And when I was in high school, I kind of talked to my friends about some of the things. And I don't think that talking to them was the right way to go because they weren't equipped to help me deal with kind of the information that I shared with them and what I was going through. So I was trying to find coping mechanisms, and one of the things I used to do was cut my arms. Dealing with like physical pain kind of helped me not focus on the emotional pain. One of my best friends, he was my best friend for a while, and then he got into drugs and he ended up dying. And I took that really hard because when I found out that he was using drugs, I cut him out of my life completely, because I was already dealing with somebody else in my life who was addicted to drugs, and it was like more than I could handle. And I was like, I don't want to watch two people go down that path. So I cut him out of my life. And then when he ended up dying, I felt really guilty about it. And that was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. So I tried to commit suicide. I swallowed a bunch of pills. Um, and at that time, like, nobody kind of really knew how to deal with that situation. I told my brother what I did, and he woke up my parents, and my parents were just like, And we ended up calling an ambulance, and I ended up going to the hospital, and I had to have my stomach pumped. And I just remember when they put me in the back of the ambulance, I like didn't care whether I lived or died. I was just like, whatever, I don't even care. Um, unbeknownst to me, I did it on the anniversary of my grandfather's death. I wasn't even thinking about that, but my grandma pointed that out to me, and man, did that make me feel terrible. I mean, I already felt terrible for what I put my family through, but you know. Anyways, so I ended up seeing a counselor at the time that I thought I would connect with and didn't really. And then I ended up going to college in New York, and um, I loved it there. My roommate was like one of the best friends I ever had. She was amazing. She was just such a good person. And she is a good person. And she helped mold me and change me and allowed me to grow into like a better version of myself. So, um, I actually had two roommates like that. Um, so anyways, I ended up falling into a depression when I was in college. I dropped out of all my classes except for two. I didn't get out of bed at all, except to go to those two classes to eat or to go to the bathroom. And the rest of the time I was in bed. I had tried to talk to my roommate at the time about what was going on, and I felt like she kind of didn't believe my story or understand what I was trying to say. And so at that time, I took my anger out on her and pretty much severed our entire friendship because I was hurt and I was angry and we were close, and that was the only outlet that I had at the time. So like I took out my stuff on her. And I've talked to her since then, and I've apologized and I've explained where I was coming from. But it hurts. I'm sad that I chose to kind of put my own BS onto her and like take it out on her when it didn't have anything to do with her at all. Anyways, so I ended up dropping out of college completely, and then I was living in New York, kind of just working, working enough just to be able to pay to live, and I was just like crazy broke and couldn't afford it. So I ended up moving back to Connecticut. Um, I moved into my parents' house, and then I ended up meeting a guy, and we moved in together. And then I went through another bout of really bad depression. And I think he just didn't know how to deal with it and didn't know how to help me. And we ended up breaking up. And I pretty much, I had like 2 weeks to figure out where I was going to move, what I was going to do. And so I temporarily moved in with a friend, and then my girlfriend had moved to Maine, and she's like, come up to Portland. I need a roommate. So I did. Moved up to Portland and got 3 jobs so I could pay off my debt. So I was just, working like crazy. Then I met my ex-husband at the time, and that all happened so fast. We moved in after a few months of dating. We were engaged after 8 months. We were married just a little over after a year, and then we were having our kid at like a year and a half. So yeah, it was crazy fast. So during that relationship, I had ups and downs. He had to learn how to deal with my PTSD, so for PTSD, for me, it looks like depression to the point where I don't get out of bed, crazy amounts of stress, and stress for me means like insomnia, or I have trouble going to sleep, and then once I do sleep, I'll only get a few hours of sleep, and then I'm tired for the day. Nightmares, flashbacks. PTSD is also like crippling anxiety. I've had anxiety to the point where I couldn't decide what to eat for lunch, so I wouldn't eat. I mean, I can't even begin to explain to you that level of anxiety and how horrible it is. Like, I was basically paralyzed into not making any decisions about anything. And depression for me is like not getting out of bed, not going to work, not talking to anyone, isolating myself, feeling alone. So, I had a couple of points in my marriage where I was very depressed. I decided at one point to go to group therapy, and the group therapy didn't last long enough to kind of deal, like, it reopened a bunch of wounds that I didn't know were there, and it brought to light a lot of feelings that I didn't know that I had. And then a group ended before we could really address those issues. And for that reason, I did get good things out of it. I really did. But for that reason, it was detrimental to me because that threw me into a really deep depression. And literally, I'm not even exaggerating, for a year, I was so hurt emotionally that I prayed to God every day, and I asked him, I'm like, why am I still alive? Because I'm experiencing so much pain emotionally that, like, physically it feels like my body can't go on. And I had a couple of friends that I would call every day, and I would cry, and I would say, I can't believe that I'm still alive. I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. I can't ever actually talk about this period of my life without crying. It's not so much that I wanted to die, but I just thought that I would die because I couldn't understand why I was allowed to feel that much pain and still be alive. So people talk about like heaven and hell, are they real? And I was like, yeah, hell is real because I've lived it, like, here on earth. Yeah, I thought I would die. I was in so much pain. I thought my body was just going to shut down. So I resisted going on medication because I didn't want to. I just didn't want to be like having to take medication for the rest of my life, and it felt like a crutch to me. And I don't know, there's a huge stigma against people taking medication for mental illnesses, and so whatever, I finally was like, let me just try it. What can, what can it harm at this point? Because I'm like barely making it through the days. Um, so I did. I tried medication for a year, and it was very helpful. Excuse me. So I did. I went on medication for a year, and I went from like the depths of despair to just like a normal level where I was like, okay, I can deal with life. And I slowly started to get like above the normal level, and I was like, things are good. And talked to my doctor. He was like, you're on a low dose. If you feel like you're in a good place, then you can take yourself off of it, which I did. And I was in this amazing place. I was like thankful every day, and I just felt really good about myself again, and I was like on the up and up. And then that's when my marriage fell apart. Um so for a year we were separated. In the beginning we tried to work through it, and then at some point that just wasn't happening anymore. And then after a year of being separated, it took another year to be divorced. So I thought I had experienced pain before, and this was a whole new level. Dealing with the separation and divorce was harder than anything before that point, which I thought I hit my threshold for pain, but apparently not. The good news is because I had experienced so much pain before and that kind of stuff, now I had the tools to actually deal with it in a much healthier way. So, I started going to Al-Anon, and I love Al-Anon because you don't even need to have an alcoholic or an addict in your life to reap the benefits of going to Al-Anon. I mean, Al-Anon just really teaches you how to focus on yourself and change yourself and your reactions. And people who have been working that program for a long time, they just have like a really healthy outlook on life. So I had Al-Anon, and I had a counselor that I could talk to, and I had a trauma group that I was going to that incorporated meditation and yoga, and we do this thing called checking in. So we would check in every week and just update each other about what was going on in our lives. So fortunately, I had all of that stuff this time around to help me get through the divorce. It's crazy because I know so many people who are divorced, and they're like so far on the other side of it, and they're like, don't worry, you're gonna get through it, and it feels like the end of the world, but there is life after divorce. And let me tell you, when you're going through it, it does not feel like there's another side on the other end. It just doesn't. Anyways, so the divorce was finalized in March and of this year, and I've come a long way. I'm very old-fashioned, so I wasn't going to date at all until my divorce was finalized, but it became very clear to me after our separation and when we started the divorce process. Like, it became very clear to me that it was over. There was nothing there to save anymore. So I was like, okay, it's okay. It's appropriate for me to be dating. So You've seen my dating videos and how well that's gone. um, so after my divorce was finalized, I reconnected with an old flame, and that didn't work out. So here I am again at a really difficult point in my life. Um, I'm very sad about it, but at least now, over all of these years of dealing with different things that have hurt me, at least I now know myself well enough to know how to take care of myself, or I know what signs to look for if things look like they're going to be bad, or I have coping mechanisms now. So I kind of like fall into this trap of, why did God allow me to have something so wonderful in my life and then take it away? Versus, well, I'm glad that I got to experience the things that I did because they were a gift at the time. And honestly, everything is temporary in life. So every blessing, every moment that we have, that's great. I'm very thankful for that. And I try not to focus on the loss as much as being happy that I was able to experience those things. So, um, and there's a saying like, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I've also heard that, like, you go through the hard things that you go through because it sets you up for the next difficult thing. So I'll often get trapped in this mindset of like, what the hell? Like, I've had so many difficult things happen in my life. Can I just have this one wonderful thing? Why, like, when is it going to be my time? Sometimes I look at other people's lives and it seems like it's so easy, or they skate through things, or honestly, I have no real perception of what's going on in their lives. And maybe something that to me wouldn't be a big deal is a huge deal to them. And then, I think to myself, well, everybody has had trauma. Everybody has had difficult things that they've dealt with. So, you know, buck up, buttercup, because you're not alone. Other people have gone through stuff too. So this is life, it has its ups and its downs. And thankfully, I've gotten to that point now where I've had enough difficulties that I know who I am. I know how to deal with things. I know how to get through. I know coping mechanisms. And basically, what I have to say is, like, if I have gone through it, if I have made it to the other side, you can too. Trust me when I say this to you. Because there were many times in my life where I did not think that I was going to make it through. I mean, I was hanging on by like a frayed thread where a shift in any direction just would have ended it all. So I hope that when you watch this, it gives you a sense of hope, because I can't even tell you how many times that I didn't think I was going to make it, and somehow, by the grace of God or the higher power, whatever you believe in, and if you don't believe in any of that, then believe in yourself, because I'm telling you, if I could make it to the other side, you can. Really. I mean, death, addiction, emotional trauma, divorce. I didn't think I would see the other side of those things, and I did, and I'm still here, and try to live my life with daily gratitude and positivity, and I keep going, and I look for the best in people and the best in situations, and I'm still here. I still believe in the greater good, and I still think that there's hope. So do whatever you need to do, you know? Do whatever you need to do to get through the today, day by day, one day at a time, and just keep going. Don't give up. Thanks for watching.